Hey guys, what is up? My name is Adam. Welcome back to another episode of Totally Unbiased, and today we are talking about Psycho. Yeah, Psycho came out in 1960, and Alfred Hitchcock film, super famous. So I am a film student in college. I studied radio, TV, film, mainly on the film side, kind of TV, radio. I didn't really do anything with radio. So we obviously talked about Alfred Hitchcock, one of the most famous filmmakers of all time. Psycho we talked about specifically as well, but I hadn't seen it yet. And Psycho, known for having a crazy good twist, being really creepy and stuff like that. So going into this movie, I unfortunately already knew the twist. I knew the really big twist at the end, which kind of sucked. But I mean, I had to know. I was more interested in how they were going to create the twist and how they were going to execute it than knowing what the actual twist was. I assume if you're watching this, you've seen it already. You know the twist, and I can't even imagine what it would have been like going in blind to that movie. That's a movie that I really wish I went in blind to. But it's so hard. It's such like a legendary movie and stuff like that. And the twist is legendary itself, as well as the character of like Norman Bates and stuff like that. So, oh man, I can't even imagine going in blind to that, not knowing the twist. That would have blew my mind. There's like a half twist and a full twist. The half twist is knowing that the mom is dead, and the full twist is knowing that Norman Bates, pretends to be the mom and stuff like that. Oh man, I couldn't even imagine going into that blind, like, and not knowing anything. That's like Sixth Sense level kind of stuff. Gives me chills. Love it. So cool. Just thinking about that. And it even kind of worked on me knowing it beforehand. Like it was still impactful and stuff like that. It's tough to not know the big twist at this point. It came out in 1960. It's such a famous film. Whatever. We haven't even started talking about it yet. So, Psycho, few things that were really stood out to me was the choice of music. And maybe that's just because the last movie I watched, Dracula, for this channel, had no music at all. So that was really jarring to me. But the music was very well placed. It added a lot to the actual story and stuff like that. Let's just do a quick rundown of the story. So Psycho is about a guy named Norman Bates who owns and operates the Bates Motel. And it's about a group of other characters that we actually kind of cycle through a little bit. No, not one character stays for too long and it is too important for too long, which we will get into in a sec. The main character is Norman Bates. And people go missing. There's a bunch of money missing. And it ends up with Norman Bates being psycho and killing people. And that's basically the synopsis. The synopsis is people trying to stop Norman Bates or know what Norman Bates did and then stop him and figure out what happened to this main girl who stole $40,000. So, getting into some stuff, I'm going to go into some stuff that I thought was interesting first off. Some stuff that I thought was really interesting. Because I did like the movie. I liked the movie. There was a scene that I thought was so strange. It was very strange. And I'm still kind of digesting the point of it. It was after Norman killed I guess spoilers now. After Norman killed the first girl, I guess the only girl he killed, but with the infamous shower scene. First off, the shower scene, like I knew it was coming. I've seen it before, like in clips and stuff like that. I loved it. Oh man, it was cheesy. You obviously can't show him physically stabbing someone because, the 60s. And the music was super intense. Like I even knew it was coming. There's no jump scares. It's all like thrilling kind of stuff. You basically know it's coming. I guess maybe not right away. But man, yeah, it got me going. It super got me going. Loved it. But the main thing was after the shower scene, the cleanup scene. Man, it was like several minutes of just of Norman methodically cleaning up this murder scene. He goes through every single step, just this big elongated thing, and it was an interesting choice to me. It was a very interesting choice. I wasn't necessarily, I'm not sure what the worth was for it. Was it the fact that he knew what to do? Was it trying to show how methodical he was? I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't super all there for that scene. It was interesting to watch, but it kind of got to the point I was like, all right, come on, here we go. You're cleaning it up. We can cut. It's totally fine. And then the moment where he is throwing he slides the car into the mud, and then it stops for a sec and then keeps going. Was that like for comedy? Was that a comedic effect thing? I'm not too sure, but it was an interesting little moment. Interesting scene. I liked it, but it seemed a little long-winded to me. It didn't necessarily seem completely necessary. So that was the only thing I didn't really care too much for the film. Everything else I liked. Well, okay, I guess that's not true. There's one more thing I kind of was just the whole plot line of the money. Like, obviously that's like the driving force of, why this girl's running away, why they're looking for her. Obviously family wants to look for family, but the private investigator is looking for this woman because she stole $40,000. It was so blech to me, like the whole motivation. Like, I know you need something, and that's why to get this girl out to the Bates Motel and stuff like that, you need a reason for her to leave. But once, like, the whole like intro part was just whatever to me. It wasn't that crazy. But then once the car goes under in the mud after the girl dies, it's just completely gone. It's completely gone. Who cares? Who cares about this money now? It's totally worthless. So it was a driving force of action to something that was completely unrelated to the majority of the plot of the story. Like, or like the important parts of the story. The important parts of the story is Norman Bates, and his mom. So, and the money was just kind of there for a little bit, and then we forgot about it, and it was mentioned like for the rest of the film, but it just didn't. That plot point didn't really hit home for me, So on to some stuff I did like. Let's talk. I already talked a little bit about the shower scene, but let's talk characters. So we'll save the main one for the very end. Other characters wise, the main girl, I guess, is she the main girl? So it's very interesting that she dies right away. Like she dies like halfway through the movie. This is our main character, and all of a sudden she's just dead. She's gone. That's it. Bye. Like, this is the only female character we've had any real association with at all, and she's our main character, and then she's just gone. She's off. So it was super. It caught me off guard how early it was, and how she was so like just cast aside for a completely different actor and actress, or a completely different actress, her sister. It was very cool. I liked it. It was a cool twist that, normally when you're getting introduced to someone at the very beginning, they ride or die for the rest of the movie, and then that's the character, that's the main character. But it wasn't. She's just in and out and gone. Now, she wasn't like a great character by any means. Like, she stole $40,000, and I've already talked about how much I don't care about that. And then she dies. Bam. That's about all you get. So the first half female character was pretty just whatever. Norman Bates is obviously the star of the show. Obviously the star of the show. And honestly, there isn't really a single other character that really had a big impact on me besides Norman, Like, I talked about how meh the first half female protagonist was, and it's the same thing with the second half female protagonist, and like the boyfriend, very meh, private investigator, very meh. Like, none of the good guys were very impactful for me at all. And maybe that was just because the actor who played Norman Bates did such a good job, and Norman Bates was such an interesting character, and I just wanted to know so much more about him. So, let's cast all the other characters aside. We're talking about Norman. So, This guy, props to the actor. I'm gonna look up who acted him real quick because I do not know. Professionalism. Anthony Perkins. Props to you, Anthony Perkins, because you were amazing. Norman Bates, he oozes creepiness when he wants to, but he also is so normal at the same time. So he's normal, but like you can just tell, like right under the skin, there's just a little bit of, there's something there, and he really makes you want to know about it. Really makes you want to know about it. So I guess we'll talk about the twist. Spoiler alert: Norman Bates' mom is dead, and he dresses up as his mom and kills people. Blah. I assume everyone who's watching this has already seen it, because I'm just gonna ruin every film that I talk about, unless it's like an actual review and not a totally unbiased episode. I'm just gonna ruin everything, and this is a huge twist. This is like a monumental twist. So he just oozes creepiness. Very well acted, very methodical. Love the character. It's so I'm gonna diverge tangent real quick. The psychologist at the very end of the film, talk about having like an announcer sort of presence. This guy talked like it was very obvious he was acting. That's not how psychologists would have talked, and I can't even like replicate it, but he was so like presenting this information about Norman so profound. It was interesting choice by the actor or the director or whatever, but psychologically so interesting. Like the way so that scene where the psychologist is explaining everything about Norman, it's a little on the nose, and a little, maybe it was just so on the nose because the way that it was acted, but it was just straight up like, here's all the information, I'm gonna shove it down your throat and stuff like that. But it was good information to let us know everything. It would be nice to respect the audience a little more, without straight up just telling us everything. But back to Norman, when the psychologist was explaining everything about Norman, it like thinking about like this guy's psyche getting destroyed and everything he did and went through was like, oh man, it like hit home. Hit home is the wrong. My parents, I didn't kill my parents and wear my mom's clothes to kill passerby travelers. But it impacted me. I felt for him, you know? Norman is terrifying because he could be anyone, you know? So Norman in the movie killed 2 people and, you know, covered it up completely. Yeah, 2 people. I was thinking in my head, I was like, 1, 2. The personal investigator, private investigator, and then the girl. Those are the 2 people he killed. And he was just like he was like a kid. He was a kid who was like still living with his mother, just this humble motel guy. And that's why it was so terrifying. Because he could be anyone, you know? Could be anyone. Like, this guy killed 2 people, and the main police guy down the road or whatever was like, oh yeah, he's just kind of a weird, quirky kid whose parents died or something like that, and he turned out he murdered his parents, you know? So it's terrifying that he could be anyone at any time, and you never know, these people are probably out there, you know? That's what's terrifying, is that it's a look at potentially some of the darker sides of humanity, and that is incredibly scary. And Norman Bates just epitomized it perfectly. Man, awesome character, very good storytelling, but the exposition dump. That's the word I was trying to find out earlier, or say earlier, about the psychologist scene, was exposition. So exposition-y. But it is at the end of the movie and stuff like that. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but you always want to try to show it and not tell it in movies. That's a super common saying, show, don't tell. And they definitely told it at the end. But that's tough to piece together completely. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and you do have to tell some things about how Norman killed his parents. They didn't, one didn't kill the other, and then committed suicide, like they say in the story. So I get that. You gotta tell some things in that specific situation, but it was just a little much, So, man, there's something about older movies. Like at the beginning, it almost felt like a home movie-esque, like the way the camera was moving and stuff like that. But then as you get farther in, like you see the shot compositions are basically like perfect. The way they're setting up the shots with like the newspaper filled with money when Norman is cleaning everything up. It's very well crafted in that regard. So props to you, Alfred Hitchcock, and all the people that worked on Psycho, even though it's 60-year-old movie almost. Next year is 60 years. Right? I think. I hope. Oh, God. So, loved the movie. There's something, the feel of these old movies, such a classic. I'm glad I was finally able to experience it, get my thoughts on it, let you guys know about it. I realized basically everything I've been doing has been monsters or spooky, I've done 3 episodes so far, and it was Scooby-Doo, and then Dracula, and then Psycho. I need to switch it up. Switching it up next time. So, if you guys have seen Psycho, which I hope so, because I just ruined the whole thing for you guys. If you've seen Psycho, what'd you think? What'd you think of my thoughts on it? Let me know. I'll be in the comments ready to talk about it, because I love talking about movies. I almost love talking about movies more than I love watching them. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, like the video, like I said, comment down below what you thought about Psycho. If you've seen it in the past, I'll be in there ready to talk back. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you next time. Peace out. Oh man, something that I forgot to talk about that is so important when it comes to Psycho. That last talk where at the very, very end, the zoom out, it's after Norman's mom has completely taken over his body, and she's like monologuing to herself about how she's going to get out of this situation, about how the look, the smile that Norman gives at the very end when the mom's voice is talking about hurting a fly. Oh, it's giving me chills just thinking about it. Like I watched it late at night. All lights completely off. The entire house was completely dark, and I was like freaking out. I was freaking out at the end of that, because that is so creepy. That moment, honestly, was so impactful. It was so impactful to me. Man, give me chills.